All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to break down a really powerful framework of 16 skills. Skills designed to help you achieve true independence, to basically fire your boss for good. Look, this isn't about climbing some corporate ladder. It's about building your own.
And the source material for this explainer, well, it doesn't pull any punches. It starts with this massive wake-up call. The basic idea? If you think that piece of paper, your degree, is some kind of golden ticket to success, you're playing by a set of rules that just don't exist anymore. The world has changed, and the real path to freedom, it requires a totally different way of thinking.
And this is that new way of thinking. Forget being a specialist, just one little cog in a giant machine. The goal here is to become a Swiss Army knife, to be versatile, adaptable, and armed with a whole stack of skills that makes you indispensable in any situation. This mindset right here is the foundation for everything we're about to cover. So where do we even start building this skill stack? Well, it's not with spreadsheets or business plans. It starts with you. See, before you can build an empire out there, you have to build an unshakable foundation in here.
These are the 4 inner pillars. First up, reading to grow. And we're not talking about studying for a test. We're talking about hunting for that one idea in a book that could literally change your life. Second, unshakable self-discipline. This is your engine. It's what drives you forward when that shiny motivation just isn't there. Third, introspection, which is all about clearing out the mental clutter so you can actually think. And last, but maybe most important, your health. Peak energy isn't some luxury. It's the core machine that runs your entire operation.
Okay, so once that internal foundation is rock solid, it's time to build the next layer. This is your practical wealth toolkit. These are the skills you need to actually create value and, just as importantly, communicate that value to the world.
Now, what's really interesting is how these skills all feed into each other. You need effective communication, right? Because so often your network determines your net worth. And that raw ability to sell? Forget the sleazy car salesman stereotype. Selling is about persuasion, it's about communicating value in every single part of your life. And of course, none of it works if you don't understand the language of money, which is where financial literacy comes in.
The core of financial literacy really just boils down to this one simple distinction. Does something put money in your pocket or does it take money out? That's it. An asset puts money in, a liability takes money out. The wealthy focus all their energy on acquiring assets, things that generate cash. Most other people spend their money on liabilities that just drain their bank accounts. Getting this right is a total game changer.
So how do you actually go about acquiring those assets? Well, you don't just wish for them. You make a plan. And that's where a framework like SMART goals comes in. You don't just say, I want to be rich. No. You create a specific, measurable plan like, I will earn an extra $1,000 from my side business by the end of this quarter. It's about building a blueprint for success, not hoping you win the lottery.
Okay, so you've mastered your inner world, you've built your practical toolkit. Now what? Now it's time to scale. This is where you make the big leap. You go from being the person who does all the work to becoming a strategic system builder, the person who creates massive leverage. And this is the high leverage stack. It's really about 2 key shifts. First, you have to shift how you use your time. You go from just being busy to being brutally effective. And you do that with surgical time management and by focusing on solving massive problems. The second shift is all about building systems through delegation, automation, and creating passive income so that your wealth is no longer tied directly to the hours you work.
And here it is. This is the secret to elite time management. Most people are completely trapped by what's urgent. The buzzing phone, the endless emails, the little fires you have to put out all day. But the elite, they ruthlessly, almost magically, ignore the merely urgent so they can focus all their energy on what is truly vital, the very few tasks that actually move them toward their long-term goals. This distinction is, well, it's everything.
And how do they find the time to focus on the vital? This is how. They apply the 80-20 rule to their entire life and business. They figure out how to delegate or automate 80% of the repetitive work so they can spend their days focused purely on the 20% that requires their unique creative genius.
We've built the foundation, we've built the scaling systems, and now we finally arrive at the very top of the pyramid. And these last few, they're not just skills, they're more like profound states of being that represent the ultimate form of independence.
So skill number 15. It's maybe the most powerful form of freedom you can ever achieve. What is it? It's this: the absolute, serene confidence that you could rebuild from zero. It's the deep down knowledge that if you lost everything tomorrow, the money, the business, all of it, you could just build it all back from scratch. Why? Because your skill stack is the real asset, and that can never ever be taken from you.
And that brings us to the final bonus skill, the one that sits at the very, very peak, the one that crowns this entire structure.
And here it is, the ultimate mindset, using your money to buy back your time. The truly independent person understands that time is the one and only resource you can never get back. So they don't hesitate to spend money on help, on tools, on anything that frees up their single most valuable asset. And that is the final question I'll leave you with, because it's the idea that truly separates the free from everyone else. You can always make more money, but can you make more time? Thanks for investing your time with us. We'll see you in the next one.